Tonight, shocking moments inside a Winnipeg Walmart.
I think about the retailers. I think about the people who are in that store.
What people say happened when a security guard confronted a group of teens, and what the force says is behind a rash of thefts. Also tonight, in search of childcare.
To be in that kind of limbo was really challenging.
How long Manitoba parents are waiting for spots, and why the $10 a day plan may be having unintended consequences. Plus, ballooning budget. Why some say another increase for the North End Sewage Treatment Plant project may benefit the city in the long run.
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A terrifying moment for shoppers and staff at a Winnipeg Walmart. There was an altercation between an individual and security staff, and someone pulled out a gun. Standing by with the details tonight is CTV's Catherine Dow. Catherine, what happened here?
Well, Marilee, it happened yesterday at the Walmart located at the Unicity Shopping Center in West Winnipeg. Winnipeg police say 4 teens entered the store, took backpacks off the shelves, filled them with merchandise, and tried to leave without paying. That's when a security guard grabbed one of them. During the altercation, another youth pulled out a gun and demanded the guard let the youth go.
The armed suspect pointing the gun at the security personnel and firing at him, almost hitting his face. Thankfully, the gun was determined to be a CO2 propelled cartridge air gun.
Winnipeg police were parked in the parking lot. Someone flagged them down, and officers quickly entered the store and arrested 4 teenagers. Facing armed robbery and weapons charges today are a 13-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, a 15-year-old girl, and a 17-year-old boy. All have been detained in youth custody, and no one was hurt in the incident.
Catherine, police spoke quite candidly about this case at a news conference this afternoon. What are they saying about this incident and about retail thefts in general?
Well, Marilee, we heard from Inspector Jen McKinnon of the Major Crimes Division. She spoke from the heart about the reality of theft in Winnipeg today.
I'm a 28-year member of this service, and I have no words to describe how terribly wrong this incident could have gone on for everyone, for the security officers, for the youths that are involved, for our officers that were coming through the door, and for our community that's out shopping on a Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. How did we get to this place? Retail crime used to be about shoplifting. Shoplifting, meaning hiding something in your jacket, in your bag, and going out of this store unnoticed. The goal was not to get caught. People didn't get hurt. Kids didn't come to the store with firearms. But this is what the staff and security are having to deal with every day.
Catherine, did police say why they think this is happening?
So, Marilee, we also heard from Inspector Max Waddell. He says shoplifting has become much more than kids trying to get away with stealing some cheap sunglasses or makeup. He says it's tied to something much more sinister.
The majority of retail theft and shoplifting is not through need. This is organized crime that is happening. It would not surprise me that these youth were directed to complete these acts of theft to later be sold to create monetary value. That's truly what's going on here, and the public needs to understand that. I feel at times there's this misnomer out here that people are starving and they need this for survival. That is not the case.
Police also said today that this isn't just a Winnipeg problem. A violent and brazen retail crime is rampant all across Canada. They also said despite the fact that provincial funding that supported that fight against these criminals has run out, the fact that officers were close by and ready to make the arrests in this case is evidence that police are still dedicating significant resources to this problem. Police say they'll be out in full force this month and again during the Christmas shopping season.
All right, thanks for this, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Police are investigating human remains found near the University of Manitoba campus. The force says the partial remains were found on the banks of the Red River yesterday afternoon near Markham Road and University Crescent. A spokesperson was unable to provide any other details, such as the person's age, gender, or manner of death, or whether or not the remains are historical. The investigation is ongoing. A controversial safe consumption site will not be going forward in the proposed location in Point Douglas.
When we listen to residents in one area and hear them say this is not the right fit for the neighborhood, okay, we take that seriously.
The NDP government had proposed opening a safe consumption site at 200 Disraeli. It would have provided needles and other drug consumption equipment to drug users. But the plan received pushback and criticism because the location is within walking distance of a school and a daycare. Premier Wab Kinew says they will now go back to the drawing board.
A couple things that we can say for certain. We are going to pursue a supervised consumption site. We are listening to the community around the location, and so we're taking a hard look at what the best fit will be.
Kinew says the reason they're taking their time to get it right is because they want the impact from the supervised consumption site to be as positive as possible. He says going forward, they will draw a 250-meter radius around potential sites under consideration and see if there are any educational facilities in the area. Police have a suspect in custody tonight following a fatal shooting in a First Nation community in western Manitoba. It happened Sunday night in Wayway-Sakapo, just east of Russell. RCMP say a 23-year-old man was taken to hospital with a gunshot wound but later died. It's believed the suspect and victim knew each other and the shooting was targeted. Police say a 32-year-old man turned himself in earlier today and is charged with second-degree murder. Childcare in Manitoba may be getting more affordable, but finding a spot has become more difficult. That's according to a recent survey of parents by Probe Research and the Manitoba Child Care Association. And as CTV's Danton Unger reports, for some parents, the hunt for daycare begins well before a baby is even born.
When it comes to childcare, Andrew Dick considers himself one of the lucky ones. His one-year-old son, Edward, has a daycare spot this October.
That only came from kind of inside information and a referral from a friend. Otherwise, he's been on like dozens of wait lists for many months without any sort of lead.
It's a similar situation for Winnipeg parent Rhea Rock.
My firstborn, I put her on the list when I was pregnant and I got calls when she was 3. So obviously the traditional method of just putting yourself on the list doesn't really work.
Stories like theirs are far from unique, according to a survey of nearly 1,900 parents conducted by Probe Research and the Manitoba Child Care Association. It found parents spent an average of 17 months on a wait list, while 52% reported having to delay their return to work due to trouble finding a spot.
That's a big issue for us here in Manitoba. We need to provide more opportunities and more spaces for families to have access.
Association President Kathy Gardner says at the Charleswood daycare she operates, there's about 500 parents on a wait list.
That's pretty universal across the city.
She says while Manitoba's $10 a day childcare has made spots more affordable, it's also made them harder to find. She's calling on the province to boost funding for space and staff.
We have opened 3 new schools this September. All 3 of those schools will include daycare spaces, and so we have added more than 300 childcare spaces this fall alone.
Education and Early Childhood Learning Minister Tracy Schmidt says the province has plans to open more spots in the coming years as well, and when it comes to staffing, she pointed to a provincial pay bump up to $5 more an hour for frontline workers.
Our government is making great strides. We know that there's more work left to do.
Her message to parents on the wait list:
hang in there.
But for Andrew Dick, his advice:
as soon as a pregnant lady pees on the stick, you should be putting your name on childcare wait lists.
Danton Unger, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Well, during the Second World War, a huge number of Canadians supported the war effort while never wearing a uniform. This includes the thousands who served in the Merchant Marines, bringing food, ammunition, and people for the war effort.
They were never recognized as part of the armed forces, but on a per capita basis and on a percentage basis, it was the most dangerous part of most dangerous service to be in World War II.
The members of the Merchant Marines may not have received the same honors and accolades as the soldiers did when they got home, but Their sacrifices and bravery are now celebrated across Canada every year on this day for Merchant Navy Day.
Many senior military people have said without the Merchant Navy, the results of the Second World War could have been vastly different, vastly different. So I think it's great that Canadians stop for a moment and just pay tribute and recognize that they were part of the services that were battling what was going on in World War II.
12,000 men and women served in Canada's Merchant Navy, and more than 25,000 merchant ship voyages across the Atlantic were made during the war. All right, let's bring in Daniel Halmerson now and get a first look at your Skywatch evening forecast. What are you tracking for us tonight, Danny?
Well, I've been keeping an eye on this storm that we're I wouldn't say actually storm, more just rainfall that's going to be coming in from the Arctic down through the northwest and much of western Manitoba tomorrow. I'll have more on that throughout the evening. But for tonight, there's a frost advisory in effect for most of the southeastern part of the province and northwest Ontario. Now, Winnipeg isn't part of that advisory yet, but we could see a little bit of frost, so if you still have some plants outside, may want to cover them up before heading to bed tonight. But over the next few days, things will warm up. We will see those seasonal averages. I'll have more coming up later in the show. As for right now, here in Winnipeg, under partly cloudy skies, 12 degrees, wind coming out of the north at 18 kilometers per hour. The pressure's rising, the humidity sitting at 56%.
Thanks, Dan.
The Bathfitter Live Eye is brought to you by Bathfitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years.
2 Alberta-based lawyers have been disbarred after hiring a private investigator spy on a Manitoba judge. John Carpe and Jay Cameron represented several churches which attempted in 2021 to overturn COVID-19 public health orders which temporarily prevented in-person religious services. Carpe later admitted in court to hiring a private investigator to follow Chief Justice Glenn Joyal, the judge presiding over the case. Cameron said he wasn't involved in hiring the investigator but had known about it. In its ruling, the Law Society of Alberta said it concluded no disciplinary measure short of disbarment can achieve the most fundamental goal of maintaining the reputation of the profession. Another budget hike is needed for the North End sewage treatment plant. The $3 billion project was initially pegged at $795 million, and now City Council is being asked to greenlight another $47 million. But as CTV's Jeff Keel shows you, spending this amount might actually save the city from paying even more.
Winnipeg's most expensive project may be going up again.
There are circumstances that have driven up costs for everybody. So, yeah, our budget went over.
The $3 billion North End sewage plant is being done in 3 phases and has ballooned in price over the years. Now Council is being asked to approve another adjustment to the budget for Phase 1. $47.5 million, bringing the total for the phase to $565.35 million, a 9% hike.
It is a big number. Everybody's conscious of that, but we do feel this represents value for the city to go this way.
Value because the additional funding is needed to settle a dispute with the contractor over cost escalations related to the pandemic. A report to the Water and Waste Committee says if the matter went to arbitration, the city could be on the hook for even more.
It avoids any kind of arbitration or any kind of additional legal costs or the uncertainty of arbitration.
The report says the price increase will be covered off by a reserve fund. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation says the city needs to find savings within this project or in another area to ensure the latest hike doesn't hit water and sewer bills.
It shouldn't be just the city saying this is costing us more, so we're going to make you pay more.
The project, which is provincially mandated, aims to protect Lake Winnipeg and make sure the city has enough sewage capacity, which could run out in a few years.
The city is growing, densifying as well, and densification does increase water consumption and flows in sewers and so on.
Jeff Keel, CTV News, Winnipeg.
A warning tonight about a potential phone scam. Police have received numerous reports from people who got calls from individuals identifying themselves as Winnipeg police. The call display even appears to show it's coming from the police non-emergency number. Investigators say the motives for these calls are unclear, but in a few of the incidents, the caller asked for personal information. Winnipeg police say law enforcement agencies will never call a person and request personal information or money. Police say similar reports have been received in Ontario, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. 16-year-old Peyton Chornley is anxiously waiting to lace up the skates again for another hockey season, but this year will look a lot different than last. The young hockey player was recently diagnosed with lymphoma, but as CTV's Joseph Bernacki shows you, she's determined to press on and has the support of her hockey community.
This summer has been an uphill battle for 16-year-old Peyton Chornley. A lymphoma diagnosis in late July has kept her off the ice, where she thrives during the hockey season.
It's definitely been one of the worst months of my life, I'd say.
With continued treatment, Chornley is hoping to start skating with her teammates at the Rink Hockey Academy later this month. It's her second season as a forward with the U18 squad.
I'd love to go professional somewhere. That's always been a great dream of mine, especially with new teams expanding in the PWHL and, you know, the new league starting.
In the meantime, Chornley's hockey community is organizing a special season opener. A fundraiser is being held with proceeds going to Cancer Care Manitoba. It'll take place during the team's season debut on September 24th in support of Chornley. Her family says they're humbled by the response from the community.
When you look at it over those years, you never think that one of your own will be impacted by it, but when it's staring you in the face, you actually appreciate the hard work and the giving back over the years.
A ton of people have come together to make it happen, and it's just going to be really special. It's going to be a great night.
Chorney's coach and teammates say they are united behind her and will put their best skate forward on the ice.
The team's really rallied around her, and she's part of the program. She's here as often as she can be here, which lifts the spirits of the players.
She's such a strong person, and I think that's what we all know about her, is just that we know that she's going to fight harder than anyone else, and it just shows how much support we have for each other.
For now, Chornley is going to do what she can to get back on the ice.
Just skating and letting all my worries go away and stuff like that, and just being out there again is just going to feel truly amazing, so hopefully soon.
Joseph Bernacki, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Today was back to school day for thousands of Manitoba kids. According to the latest provincial numbers, more than 220,000 kids are heading back to class in Manitoba's public schools. The largest school division by far is the Winnipeg School Division, with more than 30,000 students. That's the home of Sargent Park School, where teachers had their classes all ready this morning. CTV News spoke to some of the students there about the return to school.
I'm most excited about the opportunity that I can get to make more friends, and also to see my friends that I didn't really get to see during summer break.
The school year ends Tuesday, June 30th. Still to come tonight, a push to end the country's temporary foreign worker program.
And to stop issuing visas for any new temporary foreign workers coming into the country.
The response from the Carney government and why doing away with the program may not be so simple. Taking a look at the markets tonight, crude oil lost $1.62. The Canadian dollar remained nearly unchanged. Gold climbed another $43. The TSX added 135 points. The Dow Jones dropped 24 points, while the Nasdaq was up 218 points. A woman and teen boy are facing charges tonight after firearms were found at a home in Dauphin. Police say the investigation began Saturday after a report a 16-year-old boy threatened another teen with a weapon over a video chat. That led Dauphin RCMP to a home where they say they found a number of firearms, a prohibited magazine, an energy weapon, and organized crime paraphernalia. Both accused were released with conditions and future court dates. The city is looking at ways to make it easier for people to take part in a water bill subsidy program. The Help to Others, or H2O program, offers a one-time credit to people struggling to pay their bill based on the size of the household. Currently, to qualify, a person must show they're unable to pay their bill, that their household income is lower than the federal low-income cutoff, and they're not receiving any social assistance. The Public Service is now looking to update those eligibility requirements, increase the credit amounts, and make the program more visible so more people apply. A report detailing the changes is expected later this year and would still need to work its way through City Hall. The Prime Minister and his cabinet were in Toronto today for the start of a two-day retreat. The big focus of the meeting, major projects, the trade war strategy, and housing as the inner circle lays out its priorities leading up to the opening of Parliament. CTV's Judy Trent has more on the tough choices to be made with the economy front and center.
Ahead of his cabinet planning forum, the Prime Minister disclosed a top-level conversation.
I last spoke to the President Monday evening. We spoke at length on a wide range of issues, including on trade, but geopolitical other issues.
Over the next 2 days, members of cabinet will get more details about what Mark Carney learned in his unscheduled conversation with Donald Trump. The U.S. needs to start public consultations on the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement in the next few weeks.
The focus of the government from the start has been on what we can control.
The cabinet agenda includes deciding which major national projects, from ports to pipelines, to put on the fast track. Ministers will also discuss the rollout of Carney's Build Canada Homes initiative and how to build affordable homes on federal land. The finance minister has yet to map out the costs.
It's going to be an ambitious budget, but at the same time with a fiscal discipline, you know.
This budget is about fairness for every generation.
The Liberal government has not passed a budget since April 2024. A budget is expected to be tabled in October. There will likely be public sector cuts in order to pay for investments.
The federal government has been growing spending as a whole at over 7% a year on average for over a decade. That's twice the rate of growth of the economy on average. It's not a sustainable situation. So we need to rein in spending. We need to find efficiencies.
Carney's cabinet also heard from polling experts who told them that the trade war was no longer a top priority for Canadians. Instead, fighting inflation, building homes, and job creation ranked ahead of Trump and his tariffs. Judy Trin, CTV News, Toronto.
The Assembly of First Nations began its General Assembly in Winnipeg today.
If we don't mobilize to protect our rights, no one else will. We have fought in Parliament, we have fought in the courts, and we have fought on this land to protect our rights as people and as nations. Nothing has been given to us, and we are not going back.
Much of the focus of the three-day assembly is expected to be the federal government's Bill C-5. It lets Ottawa fast-track major projects it deems to be in the national interest. But today, one of the Grand Chiefs said progress cannot come at the cost of rights, treaties, or responsibilities to the land. Delegates are also discussing advancing First Nations policing and harm reduction strategies on substance abuse, among other topics. Today, Pierre Poilievre called on the federal government to end the temporary foreign worker program, proposing permits would be wound down until the program ceases to exist. The Conservative leader says those largely low-paying jobs can be filled by Canadians. But as CTV's Rachel Aiello reports, some say it may not be that simple.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre wants to abolish Canada's temporary foreign worker program
and to stop issuing visas for any new temporary foreign workers coming into the country.
Prime Minister Mark Carney said today Cabinet is discussing how the program is working, but asserted it'll continue to play a part in Canada's immigration system.
When I talk to businesses around the country, particularly in Quebec, but elsewhere across the country, their number one issue is tariffs, and their number two issue is access to temporary foreign workers.
Poilievre's plan includes a carve-out for agricultural labor and an up to 5-year transition period for regions with ultra-low unemployment.
The turnover is insanely high. It's really hard to fill those labor needs domestically.
This 8th-generation farmer said the suggestion has tilled up a lot of concern in his community.
I don't know how you do away with a temporary foreign worker program in totality without potentially harming the agriculture streams.
Migrants' rights advocates say what Poilievre is proposing wouldn't come close to solving this country's employment challenges and accused him of leveraging division over immigration to get back in the national conversation.
Temporary foreign workers are in agriculture, they're chefs, they're in fishery workers. These are not summer youth jobs, right? So linking the two is as bizarre as sort of linking, the wages in Ontario with the weather in Saskatchewan.
The Federal Immigration Department said today that fewer new temporary workers entered Canada in the first half of this year compared to 2024, and continued reductions are planned. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
A tram has derailed in Portugal, and at least 15 people were killed and 18 others injured. Lisbon's railway car is popular with tourists. It went off the tracks and careened downhill into a building. Some foreign nationals are said to be among the victims. Portugal has declared a day of mourning. Torrential rains have triggered floods in northern India. At least 30 people there have died, and the army is evacuating thousands of people from the worst hit areas. Farmers say their crops and their homes have been destroyed. China hosted the leaders of North Korea and Russia today during a military parade in Beijing. The parade commemorated the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. It comes at a time when China is seeking to wield greater influence on the international stage and portray itself as an alternative to the U.S.-dominated post-war era. There's also diplomatic maneuvering. Some observers say the Chinese leader needs cheap Russian energy and a stable border with North Korea. Russian President Vladimir Putin is hoping to escape Western sanctions and isolation over his war in Ukraine, while North Korean leader Kim Jong-un wants money, legitimacy, and to one-up rival South Korea. To Hawaii now, and an amazing scene that occurred as two natural phenomena came together. This is Hawaii's Mount Kilauea. It unleashed a geyser of molten rock. Then a whirlwind formed right next to the lava. The volcano has been very active all year. This current eruption is the 32nd since last December.
I can just take it anywhere, whether it's on my phone or on my watch. I know that I always have something to pay with.
Using their phones to pay for things, but what happens when you lose your phone or it's stolen? What you still need to know coming up.
And a little bit of rain on the way, but plenty of sunshine this weekend as we head into the Banjo Bowl, Teddy Bears Picnic, and more. Of your complete Skywatch weather forecast coming up.
A plan to revitalize a downtown street and turn it into a beacon of positivity is one step closer to reality. The Lord Selkirk West Kildonan Community Committee today approved $60,000 from the Land Dedication Reserve Fund for the Hope Alley project. Main Street Project applied for the money to paint two large wall murals on the alley near Main Street and Henry Avenue. The funding proposal still needs to work its way through other city committees as well as full council.
CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
All right, Daniel Hammerson back now with an update on that rain he's been keeping an eye on for us.
Yeah, we won't see it till tomorrow, but it looks like it is coming, folks. Relatively uneventful day here across much of Manitoba. A little bit of rainfall this morning, giving way to cool skies this afternoon. Now tonight there is a frost advisory for much of southeastern Manitoba, parts of northwestern Ontario. We could see that creeping into Winnipeg as well. So again, if you have your gardens still kicking around, make sure you're covering up those plants tonight. But what we are watching is this system developing in the Arctic. It's a low pressure system making its way down. You can see by a little after midnight in the northwest. Now, by the time we wake up tomorrow, it's blanketing basically the entire western part of Manitoba. Showers expected throughout the day, and as we move into the afternoon, that's when we should see it here in Winnipeg and much of the capital region. Parts of the west should see between 10 and 20 millimeters, while here we'll probably see 5 to 10 millimeters of rain. Now, it will taper off here around Winnipeg by the evening, but linger in the west for much of the evening heading into Friday as well, but clearing up just a little bit as we head into the weekend. So something to look forward to after the rain falls. Here in Winnipeg tonight, 4 degrees, risk of frost under partly cloudy skies. Wind out of the northwest at 10 kilometers per hour. Tomorrow morning, 8 degrees, mainly cloudy, wind shifting out of the southwest, and that's when the rain's going to fall starting around noon, a high of 10 with wind out of the south at 15 kilometers per hour. Taking a look around the province tonight, up north, 1 to 3 degrees throughout much of the region. Some sunshine, a little bit of cloud tomorrow, highs at 10. In the northwest, looking at Lynn Lake, could start seeing a little bit of rain tonight, and much of the region full of rain as we head into Thursday. To our west, out in Brandon, Dauphin, Swan River, and Neepawa, that rain, as I mentioned, 10 to 20 millimeters tomorrow. And in the capital region, between 0 and 4 degrees tonight under cloudy skies, and rain expected basically throughout, except maybe in Barons River tomorrow and just over the border in Ontario. Cloudy skies tonight and expecting a little bit more rain tomorrow. And as we look at our first Skywatch pick of the night, this one comes from Ray out near Minnedosa. The harvest is underway. Beautiful shot there. Thank you, Ray. And Bob sent in this guy from Pelican Lake. That's south of Brandon, of a visitor at a bird bath who may be a little too big. You can send your photos to winnipegweather@ctv.ca.
Thanks, Daniel. Well, many people don't think twice about using a digital wallet. Tapping a phone to pay is convenient. But what happens if a phone is lost or stolen? CTV's Pat Foran reports.
It's something more of us are doing on a daily basis, paying for items using a smartphone. Digital wallets are fast and convenient.
I can just take it anywhere, whether it's on my phone or on my watch. I know that I always have something to pay with.
But not everyone is convinced it's the best option.
I feel more secure, or just go the old-fashioned ways, use cash.
While opinions differ, there's no question digital wallets are catching on. Once set up, payments are a breeze.
Wherever you go, whatever kind of payment system they require, all you need to do is pull out your phone. No need for cash, no need for plastic.
A Consumer Reports survey found 4 in 10 consumers use their digital wallet at least once a week, but that convenience may come with risks, because if someone gets into your digital wallet, they could access your money in seconds.
There are security features that are built into both your phone as well as the wallet app on it, but they're not always turned on by default.
You want to make sure your digital wallet is locked. Set it so you need a face scan, fingerprint, or passcode to make a payment. You may need to turn these features on. If your phone goes missing, make sure it can be found remotely so you can erase all your data before someone else gets to it. On an iPhone, go to Settings, tap your name, then Find My, and make sure Find My iPhone is on. If you have an Android phone, it's called Find My Device. Just sign in with your Google account and it's enabled automatically.
If you haven't activated it, you need to, and you should practice it. Do a test run to make sure that if the worst happens, you're ready.
And watch out for scams. They're on the rise.
Scams involving digital wallet payment apps have become a serious problem. Some consumers have lost thousands of dollars. So it's important to stay vigilant to avoid becoming a victim.
To lower your risk, turn on transaction alerts for every purchase. That way you can catch anything unusual right away and protect your money. Pat Foran, CTV News.
The doctors see it often enough that they always have to be on alert.
Better testing for better outcomes. A common blood thinner used in major surgeries can have life-threatening complications for some, but now Canadian researchers may have found a solution. Medical Watch is next. They're in the water we drink, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, and the air we breathe. Microplastics are everywhere, but research on the health impacts they pose is just beginning. Researchers at McGill University hope to shed some light on this after developing a novel method to replicate 4 types of microplastics commonly found in the environment. And joining me now to talk more about this is Audrey Moores, co-author of the paper which was published in Environmental Science and Technology. Audrey, good to speak with you.
Great to speak with you, Marilee.
First, maybe give us an idea how replicating microplastics in a lab can help us better understand their impact on our health.
Well, you have to imagine, Marilee, that as you said, we know that we can find microplastics everywhere. So you would think like you could go in the sea and go and fish some microplastics there and then test them. But that actually doesn't work very well. First, because it's hard to go to the sea to do that. Then because you have a lot of algae and other stuff that gets entangled in and it's hard to clean them. But then the bigger problem is that even if you manage to catch that and to store it and to stock it, you have a mixed bag of stuff, and then the next day you go back and you have a different mixed bag, and it's very, very hard to run scientific experiments when you don't have a rigorous and standardized source of microplastics. So what we propose is to have a way to make that.
And how do you plan to pull this off?
So the idea is that we're taking some plastic pieces that are coming from commercial sources like plastic films, and what we could do is we could break them down to microplastics in the lab when we control exactly what we put in there. So we know exactly what type of plastic we have, and that had been done before. That's not so new, but what we could do is we could really work on the chemistry of the surface as well as the shape of the surface, the ruggedness of the surface, to make microplastics that really mimic what's in the environment. So what we did is we took 4 plastics, we created microplastics with them, we texturized them, we created chemistry on it, and then we compared them with what you can find in the sea. And this is where we realize that we can really mimic them very well, while at the same time controlling completely the size of the particle, the nature of the particle, the chemistry at the surface, as well as the ruggedness at the surface.
What are the next steps then?
So what we're trying to do now is to use this model in order to really test some things. So we have ideas about testing certain types of co-contaminant that can be present in nature with a microplastic. So imagine, for instance, having other types of pollutant that could interact with the microplastics. So what we're trying to do now is to use our model to try to mimic that.
Now, I know this is just the beginning, but how far off are we from, better understanding the impact of these microplastics?
Yeah, so I think it's still going to take a lot of time to do that. And I think a lot of the reasons why science has been slow is because of the challenge to actually source these microplastics. So what we hope is that our work can then be taken by many labs around the globe, and that we can accelerate this research so that we will get there. So we really hope that this is a way forward for us.
Fascinating research. Audrey, thanks so much for sharing it with us. It was great speaking with you.
Thank you so much, Marilee.
Scientists at McMaster University are celebrating what's being called a potentially groundbreaking discovery. The hope is it will lead to less complications associated with a common blood thinner. CTV's Pauline Chan reports.
Heparin is a blood thinner used during all kinds of major surgery, such as cardiac or hip surgery.
The disorder we're working on is called the heparin-induced thrombocytopenia, or HIT. It's one of the most high-stakes complications that doctors face when treating patients with heparin. Although heparin-induced thrombocytopenia is rare overall, it isn't uncommon in hospitals because the number of patients that actually receive it. So doctors see it often enough that they always have to be on alert.
In addition, there is a danger in misdiagnosis.
The challenge with this is that if the diagnosis is missed, patients can develop life-threatening clots. So while you're giving heparin as a blood thinner to prevent clots, it actually causes the clotting. On the other hand, if you misdiagnose the patients, you stop the use of heparin unnecessarily and switch to other blood thinners.
And those alternatives may increase the risk of bleeding during surgery.
Heparin-induced thrombocytopenia causes strokes, heart attacks, various different types of clots, leading to potentially amputation and even death.
In those few cases, clots form as part of an immune response to the heparin. And Professor Isaac Nazi says the body produces scores of different antibodies.
And the misconception was you produce many forms of these antibodies against it. However, what we discovered, and the reason we were able to make this discovery now, is because we have way more sensitive tools. So what we discovered is there's actually one single antibody, which we normally call a monoclonal antibody, that causes the disease. So this is a fundamental shift in our understanding of the disease. It means that we can design tests that can focus on the true culprit, making the diagnosis faster and more reliable.
And Nazi hopes the development of a Canadian test will provide medical benefits for patients around the world, as well as economic benefits here at home. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
England is pushing ahead with a ban on energy drinks for youth under the age of 16. It will ban them from buying Red Bull, Monster, and Prime at shops, restaurants, vending machines, and online. Up to a third of UK children are believed to consume these types of drinks every week. No official date has been set for the ban to go into effect. Public consultations will now run for 12 weeks to gather more information.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manukin Koster Denture Clinic.
A tour of talent coming up, a free event that takes you behind the canvas of some of our city's talented artists.
Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Brett Kissel.
A popular country music artist is returning to Winnipeg.
Baby, I'm in trouble. Steady missing you, I'm getting through another double.
Josh Ross is Canada-born and Nashville-based and the reigning 2024 CCMA Entertainer of the Year. His hit Trouble went to #1 on the Canada country charts. Ross won the 2025 Juno Award for Country Album of the Year. His upcoming tour for his latest album, titled Later Tonight, will bring him to the Burton Cummings Theatre February 24th, 2026. Tickets go on sale this Friday. Visit livenation.com. And if you've ever come across some impressive works of art and wondered, how do they do it? Well, now here's your chance to find out. The Heart Trail Studio Art Tour returns this month, giving you the chance to meet some talented local artists and find out about their methods and inspiration. 20 artists, including painters, potters, and sculptors, will be letting you inside their home studios during the self-guided tour September 20th and 21st. There's no cost for the tour, but you may find a piece or two you want to take home with you. To find out more, head to hearttrailstudiotour.net. And while it may only be September, there's details out about this year's Santa Claus Parade. This year, the Manitoba Hydro Santa Claus Parade is teaming up with the Grey Cup Festival. Winnipeg, of course, is playing host to the CFL Championship game this year. This year's parade Grand Marshal, well, it'll be none other than the Grey Cup trophy itself. The Santa Claus Parade will take place on Saturday, November 15th at 5 o'clock. The Grey Cup game is the very next day. Now, the parade will start at Portage and Main, head west down Portage Avenue until it turns south onto Memorial Boulevard and ends at York Avenue. And Saturday Night Live has its next Canadian cast member.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Comedian Veronica Slowikowska from Barrie, Ontario, is joining the show as one of 5 new featured players. She's known for her social media videos, as well as roles on shows like Tires and What We Do in the Shadows. Season 51 of SNL premieres on October 4th. And one of the most popular video game series of all time is heading to the big screen.
That'll get their attention.
This is crazy.
Paramount and Activision are partnering on a live-action Call of Duty film. The first-person shooter game has been the best-selling series in the U.S. for 16 consecutive years and has sold more than 500 million copies globally. No word yet on the movie's plot or release date, but the next game in the series, Call of Duty Black Ops 7, is set for release November 14th. And here's a look at your primetime lineup. At 7, it's MasterChef. At 8, Laugh Along with the Match Game. And then at 9, Tim Allen keeps the comedy rolling in overdrive with back-to-back episodes of Shifting Gears.
But plan ahead. Make life easy, and it's the world will be a better place.
Dial M for wisdom. Still ahead, how you can get life advice through the phone.
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by Essentique Spa Salon.
12 degrees out right now under partly cloudy skies in Winnipeg with the wind coming out of the north at 18 kilometers per hour. That's about as warm as it got here today in Winnipeg, well below our seasonal average of 21. Well below and well below that record back in 1978. Now, over the next few days, we will see the sun return finally. However, we've got to get through that rain tomorrow, but plenty of sunshine on the weekend for things like the Banjo Bowl and Teddy Bear's Picnic.
Thanks, Danny. Well, we all need life advice at one time or another, and who better to offer it than people who've lived long, rich lives? That is the idea behind a project at Misericordia Place, where residents at the personal care home share valuable lessons through a life advice hotline. Seniors have pre-recorded their advice about dating, following your dreams, even moose hunting. It's a fun way to get residents connected to the community by sharing their stories. One resident you'll hear from is Uncle Bill.
I try to create a smile on someone at least once a day. But I try to instill in people, maybe friends, children growing up, that it's easier to get a smile than it is a frown. And remember, it comes back to you.
So, if you're ready for some life advice, call 204-788-8060, that number up on your screen right now. All you have to do is follow the prompts. The phone line is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As you heard, those messages are pre-recorded. We were listening to some of them. There's some very good advice there, so well done.
Hats off to the residents at Misericordia.
And get some life advice. Give them a call. Have a good night.